Welcome to Give Me 5 minutes with Fort Smith City Director Neil Martin, where we talk about the events that happened last week and we look ahead to what's going on this week. So let's go ahead and get after it. Give me 5. We're back with a recorded Give Me 5. We're playing around with different things. We've done Give Me 5 live over the last month or so. We're still going to do those. We're still going to do some pre-recorded as well, but I appreciate you being with us and tuning in every week as we do Give Me 5. This past Tuesday on July 18th, we had a regular board meeting and we voted on a number of different things. I'm only going to hit on some of the highlights, but I encourage you to go to fortsmithar.gov where you can see the full agenda and you can see how your board of directors voted. So first off, we amended our resolution regarding Project X and incentives around Project X. Project X is a pretty exciting venture that is potentially coming to the city of Fort Smith. And we had agreed a couple months ago to provide some financial incentives pending changes to the state constitution. Well, the state constitution didn't get changed. There's a potential that it'll get changed in the next legislative session, but we are working to offer incentives for Project X. And I encourage you to go to look at those incentives, a number of different things that the city is potentially willing to do to lure Project X here. It's going to be an exciting project, and I think it's going to be something that the citizens of Fort Smith will really enjoy. We also voted to allow our internal auditor to post the responses of Fort Smith Animal Haven to the audit that was recently completed. That was a 6-1 vote. Christina Katsavis voted against it. So those responses to our audit, along with our auditor's response to those responses, are on the internal audit website at fortsmithar.gov. We also voted on a resolution, voting on a resolution to request that the ACME Brick Company donate their property to the city of Fort Smith. There is an exciting project potentially that could happen with that ACME Brick property, and we'll talk about that because it's on our next Tuesday study session. We're going to learn a little bit more about it. We voted unanimously to acquire some property in connection with the Lake Fort Smith water transmission line, which is of strategic importance to the city of Fort Smith, and also voting to acquire property for the Highway 45 utility expansion. That's still in the works. We're still working towards that, and we're hopeful that this property acquisition is going to allow us to be able to move forward on the Highway 45 expansion. So those were just a few of the highlights from our meeting this past Tuesday. A lot of good things going on in City of Fort Smith. This Tuesday is a study session, and as always, it'll be at 6 p.m. at the Blue Lion, 101 North 2nd Street in downtown Fort Smith. We have 3 items on the agenda. The first is further discussions about the ACME Brick property and the potential uses for it. I mentioned in our board meeting last week, we have requested that property be donated to the city of Fort Smith. And it's a really exciting project that I think will have long-term benefit for the city. So there's multiple pieces of property related to ACME Brick. The first one would be on the west side of Old Greenwood Road. It's proposed that we would have a mountain bike, multi-use trails, water features, an amphitheater, and other amenities. So that's on the western side. On the eastern side is proposed a detention pond to reduce flooding along May Branch Creek. This is where we experience a lot of flooding on the north side. This has the potential to decrease that significantly with a detention pond. And you would also have walking trails, a water feature, those kinds of things. That's proposed as a part of this plan. And then the third parcel would be for mixed use development. So think retail and living, residential, retail on bottom, residential on top. A really exciting project in the city at Fort Smith, a transformational style project. And we seem to be having a lot of transformational projects in the city of Fort Smith. I think this is one of them. In the heart of the city, off of Old Greenwood Road, near Southside, or between Southside High School, Northside High School, right in the middle of the city, right in the heart of the city. I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and we're going to learn more about it. I encourage you to tune in on Tuesday to hear that proposal. We'll also be talking about potential changes to the Unified Development Ordinance. One around requiring submission of a development plan for planned zoning districts. That's something that would impact developers. So we're going to be having some discussion about that. And then also regarding height restrictions in certain zoning districts. So some questions have come from some previous meetings, and we're going to talk more about that on Tuesday. But I encourage you, pay attention to this ACME brick property. With all that we've got going on with the FMS mission, the growth at Chaffee, the growth downtown, something in the heart of the city will be really exciting. I'm pumped for it, and I can't wait to learn more about it. That's it for this week's Give Me 5. I hope the information was informative and made you better aware of the items in front of your board of directors. I encourage your feedback. Respond to this post. You can also email me at neil.martin@fortsmithar.gov. I'd love to hear from you. We'll do this again next week on Give Me 5.